Let me ask this real quick, since this came out since I did my last update about how I feel about the verdict. Now the news is saying that she's not going to get out until the 17th, which is 9 days away. Do you believe that? I mean, I sat here and I thought, this seems like a diversion tactic to keep the media and protesters away so they can sneak her out of there where nobody will notice. I personally think that when they do let her out of there, they're going to do it in the middle of the night, and she may not even leave in a vehicle with blackout windows. I mean, there's people that are thinking, hey, they're going to sneak her out of there in some kind of like a work van or something to make it look like it's someone there making some sort of delivery. I don't know. You know how that conspiracy theories abound. I mean, what else do you have? In this case, you don't have an answer of what happened, and Baez has said, "Oh, well, it came out in the trial." No, it did not. Nothing came out in the trial. You didn't prove anything that you said in your opening statements. Yet those damn jurors used that in determining her not guilty. That's what I don't freaking understand. They think that it was an accidental drowning. They couldn't look at that in determining guilty or not guilty only because he did not prove it during the trial. That's another thing I got to thinking about. Oh my freaking word. And it sucks about the double jeopardy. It just sucks so bad for cases just like this. You know how many times there have been people that have been found not guilty of heinous crimes, and we all know about OJ. I mean, that's probably the biggest one we all know about. But then you come back, and let's say there's more evidence that comes out, something that definitely points the fingers at them, and there's not a damn thing you can do about it anymore. And I know this double jeopardy thing's been around for a long, long time. I've been reading up on it on the internet. But still, you've got to look back through history to see all the people that have been let go. And then, I was thinking about something else. The jurors talk about the Constitution and lack of DNA, blah, blah, blah. Do they actually think that they had all of that back at the time that it was written? They didn't have a CSI or forensic pathologist and all that, yet people were still found guilty of murder due to circumstantial evidence. I mean, it's like I could see if it were not for the hair in the trunk with the death banding on it, the body fluids. I don't know if any of you seen the pictures, the FBI picture, where it's highlighted, and it's like a perfect outline of a little body that laid there kind of in a fetal position. I mean, it's really sad to look at. Did they not look at this? I mean, really? Because my thing is I think that when Kaylee first was killed, whether it be unintentional due to negligence, child abuse that resulted in a death, which also would be considered first degree, or if it was intentional, either one of those could have carried first degree murder verdict. So I think she put that poor baby laid in that trunk, not in bags at first, and that's why you had that perfect little outline from her body fluids. Because I hate to get gross here and graphic, but I watched a forensic pathologist a couple weeks ago on one of the shows, and they were talking about the conditions, the weather conditions. It was really hot. It was like in the upper 90s at this time, I believe they said, in Orlando. And with Kaylee being in the trunk of that car, the temperatures easily would have reached in excess of 170 degrees, if not higher. And that because it was so hot, the decomposition just went so much faster. And that her body, everything would literally start to melt from that. So I think that that's why you've seen the stain in that picture that I've seen. And I believe that she realizes what's happening and later put her in the blanket, the laundry bag. I believe she got all those things when she came back for the shovel. You know, when she asked the neighbor for the shovel. And I think she intended on trying to bury her in her parents' backyard. And for whatever reason, I guess the ground was too hard and she couldn't, get it up with the shovel. So she bagged her up and took her down the street and threw her off the side of the road like she was garbage. Like everyone else around there did. Yeah, because I've seen the pictures. There's a lot of garbage that was down there. They think people use that as a makeshift dump down there. It's really sad that she threw her daughter out like that, like she was just trash going to the dump. Oh, God, I just keep getting so ill about this. It's like the more and more I think about it, and I start thinking about other things, other evidence, and, that people sit there and think that she just has a reaction to block out things. I have blocked out things, but I can tell you the one thing that I cannot block out no matter how hard I try, and that is mourning the death of someone I love. I'm usually this person of steel who doesn't show any emotions, but that is just something that I don't think no amount of trying to block out anything can control that, and especially if it's your own child. Knowing that I know people personally who have lost their children, and even I had an uncle that died, well, before I was born, and I've heard stories, from my mother and her sisters as to my grandmother, how she was when he died. And my mom would tell me, that my granny just cried and cried and cried for months. That is how any parent would react to losing their child. Any parent. I don't care what kind of mental issues they have, what kind of hell they grew up in, as I can tell you that my mom and them grew up in living hell. Living hell. And she may get upset for me talking about this, but I must say this to use this as an example. My grandfather was a drunk. He was an abusive drunk. He even shot at my grandmother a few times. One of the times my grandmother was holding my mother. Thank goodness it didn't hit neither one of them. And they went through living hell. None of them grew up to be killers. My family's dysfunctional. They'll admit it. We're dysfunctional. I don't know if any family doesn't have dysfunction somewhere. But none of us have grown up to be killers and tried to use that as an excuse to get out of it, which, hell, in this case, it worked. What kind of a message is this sending now to people? They felt that her dad was lying on the stand. I sit here and I think about how I would react, even under oath, testifying. If I was being thrown under the bus the way George Anthony has, being accused of molesting my child when I know that I did not, and then also being accused of helping to cover up my granddaughter's death when I know that I did not, a granddaughter that I loved more than life itself, the one that I was raising with my wife. Now, I'm just saying, I'm speaking as if I was George Anthony. That I kept a roof over her head, bought everything she wore, the food that went in her tummy, insurance, everything. And you're being accused of doing those things, I would be angry too. And plus, the jurors, they didn't realize there's been bad vibes between Baez and George since 2008. And I just feel that the man was set up. Even from that damn river, whatever the hell name she wants to use today, I think that was all set up because it's just so ironic how her sister was in jail with Casey. And her sister was the one that passed off all the letters to Casey, from the Robin Adams. There's like 800 pages of letters on the internet. If you have not read them, go look them up. They're hard to read. Yes, they gave me a headache, so it took me a few days to go through them. But Casey passed all those letters back and forth through Sky Cruise. Hell, I don't know. That both of them have so many aliases, you can't keep up with it. River Cruise, I researched on the internet. I found 5 aliases and 2 dates of birth that she uses. She lives off of disability. Gets evicted quite frequently for for failure to pay her rent. So, and she supposedly gave George Anthony $4,000 in late 2008. But the jurors, for some reason, think that that's the money she got from the National Enquirer and gave to him. Wrong, idiots. You should have looked at the evidence. She did not do the story with the Enquirer till way after that. Now, this is a woman who did a depo who denied repeatedly to not having an affair. She said absolutely no sexual contact whatsoever. Once she was offered money to lie, she then changed her story. She had no choice but to continue with that lie because she had been paid to publish it in the national tabloid rag. So, I just completely floored at the ignorance of those 12 jurors and the 4 or 5 alternates that were part of that trial. I mean, just absolute pure ignorance. There's no other way to put it. And I hope one of them watches my video. I really hope one of them watches it because they didn't pay a damn bit of attention. They only heard what they wanted to hear. They tried to say that was an accidental drowning when they were told not to use that because it was not proven during the trial. It was only used in the opening statements. He could have said a damn tree fell on little Kaylee and killed her in the opening statements. But if he did not prove it throughout the trial, you cannot use what he said in opening statements in determining a verdict, which is what they did. And they're even admitting it on national television. I think that's what pisses me off more than anything. I don't get it. It's like I seen a poll, an internet poll. I think it was 96% of those polled felt that she was guilty. 96%, yet they managed to find 12 people out of all that percentage that all thought she was not guilty. Unfreaking believable. And I can see why they don't want to show their faces in public. I mean, there are crazy, wacky people out there that probably have threatened to kill them. I would never wish any kind of harm upon any of them. None. That's wrong. People don't need to be threatening them. You can be pissed off at them. You can pass them down the street and say, you piece of shit, but leave it at that. And just like this restaurant refusing to serve them, that man has a legal right to do so. You have a right to refuse service to anybody you want in a restaurant or a place of business. There's even signs posted that state that. So, they can be upset all they want. They need to understand that they made a bad, bad, bad call the other day. I mean, you couldn't even come back with getting her for child neglect and manslaughter. Come on now. Let's be realistic here. The evidence was there. You just wanted to get the hell out of there. I don't even think they ever really deliberated very long. I think they did for an hour, got in an argument and said, screw it, we'll find her not guilty. Let's just fart around and we'll go home tomorrow. Because you notice how even the first day they came in all dressed up? They knew already. They can't play us for a fool. But I already got to go. I'm about out of time. But yeah, I don't think Casey's going to be getting out on the 17th. I think they're going to sneak her out before then. Watch. The media will be there anyway. They'll probably be camped out 24/7. They're trying to do that to divert any possible protesters or riots. I can understand, but I think it's smoke and mirrors. Okay, talk to you later again. If I feel like venting, I'll make another upload. Bye.